The richest man in the world strikes again. Elon Musk AI company XAI has installed 59 natural gas turbines right next to the Black community that is powering his colossal 2 data centers, a supercomputer complex that runs Grok without securing federal Clean Act permits. And of course, the federal government is backing Elon Musk at every single turn that they can possibly even think of, even though he's violating federal law. I guess when you're the richest man in the world, money is no object, and neither is breaking the law is no object. I mean, we have a convicted felon in the White House, 34 convictions, but nevertheless, I digress. But again, 59 turbines. Damn! And roughly twice what the company publicly acknowledged. And Reuters didn't get there from a particular rumor. They got there from emails between regulators and XAI own consultants, the company's own paperwork. And reports didn't get there from a rumor or an activist leak. They got there from emails between regulators and XAI's own consultants. I had to say it again for you guys to really hear, because think about that. Insiders is actually reporting this as well.
Wait, what?
Now, the company's own paperwork is reporting this. 57 of those turbines sit in South Haven, Mississippi, just across the state line from Memphis. 2 more are on a separate site altogether. And here's the number that turns this from a tech story into our story. Within 5 miles of them on the Tennessee side of that line, about 94% of the residents are Black. Why never near the white neighborhood? Why never near the Asian community? I'm just asking for the entire country, because I want to be precise when I give you guys this information, because precision is how you win the argument, right? Not in rhetoric and not in conjecture. Nobody produced a document where somebody wrote, put it by the Black folks. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you what the map says. They never put things in what we like to believe plain English, because some people are like, well, they didn't say it in the law, the legislation that it was about Black, or they always use these nonsensical, idiotic arguments. No, they're not going to put the word Black. They just do it strategically and put it in a position where they know who is going to affect more than any other demographic. And see, and this map, by the way, says when the richest man in the world needed somewhere to park 59 unpermitted turbines running around the clock. Your place on the receiving end was 94% of us. That's either the most expensive coincidence in American industrial history, or it's a pattern. We understand environmental racism, do we not?
Yes.
Do we need to really get into that? I'm pretty sure you guys are astute and aware and informed about a lot of the environmental racism that our people go through. Now, Reuters ran the numbers on just 30 of the turbines at South Haven, which is roughly about half. Those alone could emit nearly 2,500 short tons of nitrogen oxide a year, far above the federal permitted threshold, the line where the government is supposed to say, stop, no more. You can't do any more. You have to limit, you have to slow down, you have to reduce. You're a major source now. You need limits and monitoring. We're not talking about creeping over that line. See, here's the thing about these 2 different sides of the government, which I take no side in neither one of them. But what we really need to understand is that on some points, when it comes to the rich demographic of America, why the Republicans and conservatives are in office, they just don't care. They don't give a damn, especially when it doesn't affect them, by the way. You never notice that these are never near rich neighborhoods, prominent neighborhoods, up in rising rich neighborhoods. No, they're usually near destitute Black neighborhoods that they don't give a damn about. See, Tom's Hardware put the estimate at a roughly 25,000 tons of nitric oxide, 4,000 tons of carbon monoxide, and 22 tons of formaldehyde every year from about half the particular units.
Wake up, nigga.
The full South Haven site can produce up to 53,000 tons of smog, forming nitric oxide annually, ranking among the leading emitters of the pollutant in the entire United States of America. Richest man in the world, does whatever hell he wants, and wasn't even born here. He was born in South Africa. A true African American. And Victoria Nelson, an independent environmental engineer who used to work at the EPA, put it very plainly. She said additional nitrous oxide exposure could exacerbate public health issues. Again, speed up, exacerbate, make worse. That word tells you this isn't landing on a healthy community. It's landing on top of something so far more grave. So what's underneath? The greater Memphis area had serious air problems for years.
What?
The American Lung Association gives the counties around that particular city failing grades for smog, failing before a single turbine even showed up. So why even go to this area? Why go to this community? Why go to this neighborhood? Oh, he had the land. You know what? Why don't any of these data centers, these industrial manufacturers, put their manufacturing site, their data centers in Death Valley in California? There's nothing out there, right? Is this training ground for the military? I trained there when you go to certain places, but nevertheless, this desert is absolutely huge. They can put them out there. Why they don't put them out there? Oh, they will have to run lines and it will cost more money. They want it near their data centers. And I get it, right? Operational costs. How do we get the power to the data to cool? Ladies and gentlemen, it's so much going on. But nevertheless, Boxtown is a Memphis neighborhood that sits right alongside that facility. And in Boxtown, the cancer risk is 4 times the national average. 4 times.
How could he survive?
Do you think these gas-powered sort of data center powering industrialized buildings are going to help? Hell no. Now, let me tell you about Boxtown, because it was founded in 1863 by freedmen, people who had just been emancipated, who came to that ground and built a community out of nothing. They built the first houses out of boxcars and crates, and that's the name. Why didn't they build them in the Appalachian Mountains? Why they didn't build them in trailer parks? I'm just, again, asking questions for the nation. 163 years old, one of the oldest continuous Black communities in the country, which is a monument to some people. And 163 years later, the richest man alive parked a power plant next to it without even a permit. There's a woman. Her name is Sarah Gladney, 72 years of age. She was born back in 1954, the year of the Brown versus Board. And what she described was a continuous movement of XAI into these communities, driven off by profit, not public health. She's standing in her own yard in the neighborhood Freedmen's built, watching turbines rise, and nobody with power is listening to her. So how is this legal? XAI's argument is that these are mobile units, portable, temporary, and the portable equipment, they say, is exempt from federal permitting, and that Mississippi Department of Environmental Quality agrees. But the EPA said the very exact opposite, because in January of this year, it said that even temporary turbines that exceed the threshold must get permits. And understand this, temporary is doing a lot of work in the census. Now, this word temporary, we can kind of look to get a comparison. We can look at the word temporary to get a contrast, because you know how people come to this country under TPS?
Damn.
Temporary protective status.
Gotcha, bitch.
But people have been here 10 and 15 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I never knew that temporary was so long, right?
You're not wrong.
It doesn't mean permanent, but that means he can still be there for 10, 15, 20 years and the damage will be done. Temporary is doing a lot of work in that census because rooters call this an unprecedented level of off-grid power generation.
What could go wrong?
And the parent company plans to spend roughly $2 billion more on mobile gas turbines, $2 million more on temporary equipment. Family, nobody spends $2 billion on temporary.
Pause.
That's not a rental, that's a business model. And if it works in South Haven, it's coming to a community near you, because every AI company in America is watching to see if this loophole holds. So you know, Elon Musk with the power of Grok AI, and he got all these other companies, and Tesla and the Boring Company and SpaceX and all these other things, right? Even the satellite company.
It will never end.
Don't you think he typed in Grok and said, where could I create data centers and buy turbines that won't affect the rich white community or affect the white community in general? Oh, right here in Boxtown.
What an idiot.
In South Haven area. You don't think he did that? Again, that's my own conjecture. I really don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. Because listen, in April of this year, the NAACP with the Southern Environmental Law Center and the Earth Justice filed a Clean Air Act lawsuit against XAI and MZX Tech, asking a federal judge to halt the turbines, that the system's working exactly like they teach it in civics class. Citizens are being harmed. Citizens are suing, and judge needs to decide the right thing according to the law, the federal law. And then last month, the United States Department of Justice walked into that case, not to help the NAACP to uphold federal law, not to enforce the Clean Air Act. The Department of Justice asked a federal judge to throw the NAACP lawsuit out. And here's what they wrote to the court. And this is by quote, no less. The NAACP may not pursue this Clean Air Act enforcement action over the United States objection. That's what they stated. And then gave the reason. Okay. Then gave the reason. The NAACP threatens American national economic and energy security by seeking to shut off the power supply for artificial intelligence innovation that supports the Departments of War military operations. See, I told you guys, when Anthropic was talking to the U.S. government, because the U.S. government was using Anthropic just for administrative purposes, and the U.S. government say, hey, we want you to take off the guardrails and barriers of Anthropic, of the Claude model, because we want to use this in autonomous drones that we can bomb from and autonomous submarines that are unmanned. And Anthropic said no. Why do you think they removed Fable 5 model initially and threw in a lot of red tape? Because the government really don't like the fact that they can't do whatever they want with all these AI models. But you know who's going to step in? Good old Grok, aka Elon Musk. I don't want to go off on a tangent. That's a whole different video. But here's the thing. The NAACP threatens national security. That is what they stated. The DOJ said is that they're threatening national security because they don't want innocent black people to be harmed.
What kind of American are you?
The Defense Department's chief digital and artificial intelligence officer swore to the court that Groks enable U.S. forces to deploy over 2,000 munitions to 2,000 distinct targets within 96 hours during the Iran war. So I want you guys to really follow this logic, because the logic is the whole thing here. The turbines power Grok, right? This is the power that Groks get from it. Grok helped pick targets and the war. Therefore, the turbines are a war asset. Therefore, black folks in Boxtown in South Haven breathing 53,000 tons of nitrogen oxide is now a matter of national defense. Whatever happened to America first? Whatever happened to the American citizens first?
We all know that now.
We know that's not true. It's everybody except black people. As we always been saying, that people think these are just talking points, but these are facts and these are the truth. These are not just zingers to try to get clicks and views. This is what's happening to the black community within that area of Boxtown and South Haven, right there in Mississippi, that's very near Memphis. Because again, I'm very surprised at the NAACP that they even did this, which is a great thing. Because the NAACP has to sit down according to the Department of Justice. That is not a legal argument. That is a hostage note. And let me bring you a witness who worked inside that building. There was a lady named Laura Thomas, and she is at the Earth Justice. She used to work for the Department of Justice. Here's what she told Mother Jones. In my experience, I have never known the government to intervene on behalf of the defendant to argue that the enforcement shouldn't happen at all. Not when you're dealing with the richest man in the world, not when you're dealing with President Trump's butt buddy. Now, let me do what the cable networks want. Let me steel man the other side, honestly. And there's a real case here, right? AI is genuinely strategic. Love it or hate it. This country is in a serious technology race, and whoever leads in AI compute has real economic and military advantages. That's true. We are in a race against China and their models that they're building. Absolutely. That doesn't mean that we bring harm to American citizens.
I don't like that.
Especially foundational Black Americans in our demographic. Absolutely not. But we are in a quote unquote AI arms race, right? Because they're going to use AI for all sorts of military operations. And the grid genuinely can't keep up here in America, right? Either we have to build them on top of ground, tall, wide, underneath the ground. The grid genuinely can't keep up. Data center demands is exploding faster than utilities can even build them. So companies, they go off grid, and that's a real engineering problem, not an invented excuse. And for the deepest one, there is a legitimate constitutional question about who gets to enforce federal law. Citizen suit provisions let private groups sue. The executive arguments enforcement discretion belong to the executive, because serious lawyers have argued that for decades, it's not crazy. I'll give them all four, right? Here's where it runs out of road for me. If the permit question is closed, go get a ruling. Don't run 59 units for months while it's unsettled, right? Why is in probate? Why is pending, so to speak? This pause them like you would do anything else. Because when police officers kill people who are unarmed, that has my skin tone, don't they put them on suspension, on paid suspension or administrative leave? That means they're somewhat in limbo to see what the internal investigators come up with. And most likely the attorney general lets them go free, no charges, drop, justified. So if the grid can't keep up, that explains why you need power. It doesn't explain why the exhaust ends up over the 94% black side of the line. Somebody chose that matter. And if enforcement discretion is a real principle, then it has to be a principle, not a coupon you hand to the 1 billion whose chatbot the Pentagon likes. See, because here's the tale, ladies and gentlemen, the national security argument doesn't say that the pollution isn't happening. It doesn't say that the numbers are wrong. It doesn't say the community is fine. It says it doesn't matter. That's not a defense. That's a confession with a flag wrapped around it.
The US government just admitted that XAI is running double the amount of gas turbines that it's legally allowed to. And the Trump administration is in court fighting to stop Black communities from suing over it. As the development of AI continues, we're starting to see that environmental injustice as well as community injustice is being perpetrated even through the US government. And XAI's data center, Colossal 2, out in Tennessee, they installed 59 gas turbines, which didn't even get approval from the US government to be installed. And the emissions are predominantly affecting Black communities. And the communities in Tennessee are experiencing a higher than normal rate of lung disease because of the emissions. And we've seen the US government value one community over another. And these tech billionaires are doing the exact same thing. And this is one of the reasons why Mayor Mamdani out of New York has put a moratorium on data centers because of the negative effects that's happening on the communities. Big tech and the US government is constantly trying to keep ahead of China. So this is like a by any means necessary mindset and attitude when it comes to building data centers and pushing so that way they win this AI arms race. We'll get word from the US government themselves where the Justice Department weighed in and they said that restricting the turbines can threaten national security interests because of XAI's systems supporting US military operations, like the operations involving Iran. So it's one hand, them trying to win the AI arms race with China, and the second hand is making sure that their military stays the top of. We also get weigh-in from a senior attorney from the Earth Justice, where she says that this sets up scenarios where the government can create sacrifice zones and tell communities that they have to breathe illegal air pollution, which is insane to me.
Sacrifice zones. Let's sacrifice hundreds of thousands of people so we can beat China in an AI race. I want you guys to think about this because you have access to Chinese large language models as well. I don't know if you guys know anything about AI, but there's companies like Z.AI that has the GLM model. You have DeepSeek. You have these other models like Kimi that are all Chinese models that you can actually download right here in America. So that means that you can put these data centers anywhere and still have your AI model to operate right here in America. It doesn't need to be in America. Okay, you don't think they're getting tax incentives and things of that nature, but they can put them in Venezuela, right? They can put them in Ecuador. They can put them in Asia. They can put them in Africa. Africa has all this land that they could possibly rent out land over there, but no, they put them right here in the Black community.
What is this game?
There's land around the world that they can still put these, ladies and gentlemen, but they decided to put it right here. And here's another thing. Why haven't you heard about this? I ran it through Ground News this particular morning. 12 sources total. On planning, there are 36% left, 46% center, 80% right. A Reuters investigation found that the richest man alive running 59 unpermitted turbines next to a 94% Black community, while the Justice Department argues that the NAACP is a threat to national security. They're calling us a hate group. And it gets 12 sources. A Subaru recall the same day got 99. And look who's carrying it. Gizmodo, Tom's Hardware, The Next Web, Tech Blogs, filing it under AI infrastructure. And what I just named, like Gizmodo, Tom's Hardware, these are actually news sites that actually deal in other types of news, right? They barely on US news, they barely on AB. You don't really see, they don't really cover it. You get what I'm saying? They don't get really national coverage. See, the Black press has the DOG angle. Almost nobody carries both halves. The right doesn't want the pollution story. The left won't touch the national security filing. So the complete picture, where's the Democrats? You're for the poor people. You want the Black vote. Where's the Republicans? Fair and equal. Whatever happened to America first?
The American dream is dead.
You see what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. The Democrats, they're over there like, oh, well, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. And the Republicans like, we don't care.
We don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care. He's breaking the law. We got a president that broke the law 34 times. We don't care. We're not even getting involved. And who's know? Richest man in the world probably broke off the federal government, AKA butt buddy Donald Trump. Just saying, I don't know. Okay, that's my opinion. And we have to think about this. When we look at the complete picture, no less, where a civil rights organization gets branded a security risk for enforcing a 1970 environmental law, never assembles anywhere but right here. So what do? I think maybe 4 things. 1, watch that judge who's proceeding over this, because the court has not ruled on the DOJ's motion to dismiss it yet. If a federal judge accepts the National Security Council's, the Clean Air Act, that president doesn't stay in Mississippi, goes everywhere for everybody forever. Here's my thing. Who didn't know he was building these buildings right there in broad daylight every day? Like, they had to know, right? Anytime that you're building a commercial area, you have to get permits. And so the city and then the state knows, but no one reported it. Here's another thing that we probably need to do. Support the people in this particular fight. Avery Connor, the NAACP Director of Environmental and Climate Justice, said it right. Laws like the Clean Air Act are a bedrock insurance policy for communities to hold polluters accountable for decisions that cause them harm. This should not be up for debate, ladies and gentlemen. The NAACP will continue to stand up for democracy and against federal bullying and authoritarianism, right? That's what they should be doing all the time across all the states. Now, this one particular chapter, in my opinion, is doing the right thing. Number 3, if you're near this facility, document it. Document the air quality with, apps, date times, symptoms, doctor visits. Put it in writing, because the thing that eventually moves a judge is a record regular people keep when nobody is watching, meaning that you have a track record, date, times, doctor visit, you have it all together. And 4, name this thing correctly. This is not an AI story. This is not about slowing our country down so we can't compete with countries like China and India when it comes to the AI race. Absolutely not. We definitely want to compete, and we definitely want to beat them out. Yes, we're all America first, but we're not all America first at the sacrifice of American citizens, are we not? Think about this for a lot. China has AI websites, AI large language models that operate in the US. So that tells you right there, the data centers in China are not in America, are they not? Are they borrowing some sort of data centers that maybe Anthropic or ChatGPT or Gemini and all these other places have? I don't know. See, this is the oldest American story there is. With new equipment, something valuable gets built. The profit goes in one direction, the exhaust goes in another direction, and the exhaust has always known exactly which neighborhoods to find. So here's a big picture. In 1863, Freedmen built a town out of boxcars and called it Boxtown. And now in 2026, the cancer risk there is 4 times the national average. And the richest man in the world has 59 unpermitted turbines humming next door, twice as many as he told anybody about. Think about that. Yeah, I'm gonna do around 30, and he does 59, roughly 60.
It doesn't seem safe.
And when a 117-year-old civil rights organization asks a judge to make him follow a law that's been on the books since 1970, the United States government showed up, Department of Justice. That is a story about who the law is for. And Mr. Urban Laws in Colonial Hills already told us the answer. I can't do anything about it because he's got more money than me.
Damn.
Family, he's only right if we let him be right. Only if 12 News Outlet is all this story ever gets. Only if the record stays empty. These stories may look separate. A data center in Mississippi, a filing in Washington, a neighborhood founded by freed, enslaved people. But they're all connected by one thing: power. Who has it, who abuses it, who gets protected, and who gets to breathe. So drop your thoughts in the comment section. And if you're anywhere near this facility, tell me what you're hearing at night, because I want the record to show it. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with somebody who needs to hear the truth behind the headlines.